Mozart, and for today's video, I am going to be doing a story time. First, if you don't know, I have been traveling around the world for the past 10 years non-stop to 48 countries on 5 continents, and we would have a base like when we were living in Spain so that I could learn Spanish, or in Malaysia for me to learn Chinese. I have been mostly homeschooled or world schooled, but I have gone to local schools in Spain, China, and Malaysia to fully learn the language and immerse myself in the culture. That was pretty easy in Spain because I was already mostly fluent when we arrived, and I did 1st through 4th grade there for around 5 months of the year in the winter time. And for the other 7 months, we would travel around Europe in an RV. When I was 10, I went to a local school in Penang, Malaysia, where I was the youngest, smallest, only blonde, only Caucasian in the very large school, and I skipped ahead 3 years, so I had gone from 4th grade in Spain to 7th grade in Malaysia. I did my kindergarten and 1st grade years in Santa Cruz, California. School is very, very different for different cultures, but you know, the roots of it are basically the same, you know, kids sitting in desks with a teacher, that whole thing, you know. Chinese school and Chinese culture is very, very different. They think it's normal and that it's like acceptable to cane kids. They were shocked that my parents had never caned me. And my parents were shocked to learn that they caned kids. In Chinese schools, or in my school at least, they had a discipline master. And a discipline master is what it sounds like. His job is to enforce punishments, and they had 2 when I first got there, and then they had 4 when I left. So they had a discipline master and like a lady discipline master, and then a co-guy discipline master and a co-lady discipline master. So yeah, my parents literally thought that it was like something out of the 50s, and they're more strict there than my dad's Catholic school was in the 60s. Unlike some schools here in LA where you'll find kids doing drugs and it's like normal, kids don't do drugs there, and it's very like, no drugs, you know? Caning is done by many of the families in Malaysia, and the student reporters at the school did a piece about me in the school paper, and they were really shocked to find out that my parents never caned me, and they were like, how do they make you so well behaved? If you want to know what a cane is, because I'm sure you're wondering, it is a long, thin stick of bamboo that they use to hit children on the palm of the hand or on the butt. And sometimes they even do it like on the front of the hand, I think, but it was mostly just on the palm of the hand. And if they're really trying to hurt you, they will put rubber bands on the end, and it'll hurt even more. So when I first went to the school, the principal told my parents that they hardly ever cane children, and they would only cane the children for very serious offenses like gambling or smoking or, you know, stuff like that. And the principal also told my parents that they would not cane me because my parents had specifically asked, you know, for them not to hit their child because it's not part of American culture, and like, no. There were around 1,000 kids from 7th to 12th grade in my school, and it was a very like old, kind of like run-down school that looked like it was from the 50s. I had to get up when it was still dark. I had to get up super, super early during the week, and I also had to go to school on Saturdays, which was just lovely. And it was about an hour bus ride, but they had a school van that would take, you know, the kids. And so yeah, it was about an hour's ride, and I was the only girl on the bus for 2 years. My third year, there was a girl from my class that actually started riding the bus as well. And phones were not allowed. It was very, very strictly enforced at that school. I think around my second year there, they started using I think it was like a metal detector, because kids would hide them in their bras and in their socks and stuff. So they would literally use a metal detector to find the phone. Another example of how strict they were is you were only allowed to wear white shoes, completely white, no color whatsoever. This one girl in my class was wearing a pair of white tennis shoes with like a really, really faint pink strip, I think, around the shoe. And they made her take off the shoes, they threw them away, and she had to walk around barefoot for the rest of the day. So the first day that I got there, I saw kids being caned, and it was not just for gambling or cigarettes. It was for everyday stuff that like kids in America wouldn't get hit for, like being late, spending too much time in the bathroom, talking during class, and not handing in homework. And when somebody would get caned, they would make them come up to the front of the room, and mostly it was just caned on the palm of the hand, and you know, they would do it in front of the whole class, and sometimes they would cane on the butt. Some of the kids were Chinese from Thailand, and China has a very different culture than Thailand. Thailand is very lax with their rules. They're not as strictly enforced there, so the kids aren't as well behaved, I guess, you know, and responding as well to authority, you know. So a lot of parents send their kids in Thailand to Chinese schools so that they can become more well behaved, I guess you could say. That culture shock meant almost daily canings, and sometimes even multiple times a day. In fact, mostly multiple times a day. After a while, you know, get used to it, kind of like the squat toilets there. It's just a different lifestyle. Once, there was even this huge fight between the discipline master and this boy from Thailand, and this was in like my first or second week of my first year there. So this was like, I was totally new to this, and I just like, this happened. And let me just say that the discipline master was like 75 years old. Okay, so he's like an old man. So this kid is a very tall kid, and we're standing in two lines to go to like Chinese class, I think, and the Thai kid's over here, and I'm in this line. And the kid does not have his shirt tucked in. God forbid. And that's like a sin there. So the kid does not have his shirt tucked in, and the discipline master comes walking up to him, and he starts kind of yelling at him for not having his shirt tucked in. And he raises his cane to whack the kid, and the kid grabs the cane and then proceeds to choke the discipline master. He starts like trying to kill the discipline master. He's like, and like they're like, you know, like that's basically what was happening. Fight between the 14-year-old kid and the 75-year-old man. And needless to say, he was expelled, and this was like 2 weeks in to my first time there. This was like 2 weeks in, and I was 10. I was 10 years old. That's probably the most exciting thing that ever happened in my 3 years there, and it happened in like the first 2 weeks. Okay, these Thai girls were like obsessed with me. Like, I guess it was because I was blonde, but they were like obsessed with me. They would treat me like a doll, and they would like pull me back and forth like this, and it would like hurt my arms. But I was like too shy to like say stop. So yeah. So about a month into the school year, everybody in my class everybody in my class had gotten caned but me. A, because I was a good child and I did not do anything worthy of being caned. I was a good child. A good child. And B, because my parents told them not to cane me. So by then I was kind of like, you know, like I haven't gotten caned yet, you know, like I kind of want to be caned, but like I don't want to be caned because I want to keep up my streak as like not having been caned, but like I want to get caned kind of thing. Like it was really weird and I don't know what was wrong with me. I guess like I kind of wanted to be like everybody else in the sense that I'd gotten caned, but I don't know. Strict discipline is a very big part of Chinese culture. And sometimes it was really difficult for me. Like, respecting elders is a very, very, very strong part of Chinese culture. And so being a global kid means sometimes learning the culture the hard way. In America, we have the saying, which I'm sure you're very well aware of, the squeaky wheel gets the grease, which is basically saying, you know, the people who speak up get the attention. And in China, their equivalent of that saying is the loudest duck gets shot. I went a long time without being caned, but one day that changed. Okay, so this is what you came here for, right? The whole me being caned whack story. Alright, here we go. So, it was during exam week, so we had like a free period where we were supposed to be like studying, and I was drawing in my notebook. And I sat right next to a window, and the window's shades were closed. And apparently, I'm still waiting for this to be proven, a teacher comes by, actually, not just any teacher, the co-discipline master lady, her. She comes to the classroom door, and she says, everybody who's by the window, open it, because apparently, like, you can write answers on the drapes, and you can, like, cheat that way, which I was not aware of. So she said, open the drapes, and by the time I come back, if anybody has not opened the drapes, they will be caned. I did not get this memo. I didn't get the memo. She comes back around, and I'm drawing in my notebook. I'm drawing in my notebook. I'm not aware of what's about to happen to me. So she comes around, and like she doesn't know my name, so she kind of just like yells, "Girl next to the window," and she like points at me. And this kid who's sitting next to me like whispers, like, "You were supposed to open the drapes," and I'm like, "Oh crap!" Oh. And I like open them, but it's too late. It's too late now. So she beckons for me to come closer. And I do, and I'm like freaking out because So I like walk closer, and she motions for me to put out my hand, and I'm like, no! I'm like, oh my god, no! Like, no! And she like hits me! And then it was over. She like hits me, and it really hurt. Like, it really hurt. Like, those bamboo things, those bamboo sticks hurt. Bad. So she hits me, and I don't know why, because like I didn't really care that I had gotten caned. I kind of felt like crying, and I don't know why. Like, to this day, I don't know why I felt like crying, because I didn't really care that I had gotten caned. Like, it wasn't a big deal. Like, oh my god, I just got caned. Like, no, I was like, okay. And I was like, oh my god, I can't wait to go home and tell my parents about what just happened. Like, boy, have I got a story for you. So, the day progresses as normal, and I go home. And let me tell you, the school was not ready. So I go home and I tell them, and they're furious. They are so angry. They are so angry at the school. So my dad goes to see the principal because, you know, they had specifically asked the school not to cane me. and like not hit their child. And they went to see the principal and all that stuff. But I was not upset about it. I just wasn't. And I think the part of me that wasn't upset about it was like, I'm one of them now. I have been caned. I have been like, you know, initiated into the Chinese culture. So like I was kind of relieved in a way because, you know, I was not the kid who had not gotten caned yet. I had been caned. I had been blessed. So I wasn't the little white girl anymore. Like, I mean, like I was still the little white girl, but I wasn't the little white girl who had not gotten caned. And I was still little and white and blonde, but I had gotten caned, and that was all that mattered. And I also knew that it wasn't my culture, and I wasn't guilty. Like, it wasn't my fault that I gotten caned. I had done nothing wrong, and my parents supported me in that, you know. So I mean, like, how many American kids know what it's like to be caned in Asia? Like, that's crazy. So someday when I'm touring the world with my music, I will have that in common with Chinese people, you know? I will have that in common with them, and that will be something that we share. So when I visit places like Malaysia or Singapore or China, I will have that to share with the people there. And I will have understood the culture like firsthand, like literally firsthand. Get it? Cane. Ha! So I know the good about the culture, which is like, you know, the tea ceremonies, the respecting elders, the importance of education and family, but I also know the not so cool side of it, like the caning and, you know, all the punishing stuff. But, you know, Americans have stuff in their culture that's bad, you know, so what are you gonna do? So that's it for this week's video. I hope that you enjoyed this story time. I really enjoyed making this story time, actually. This is like probably my favorite story time to do because I get to go back in time and just tell you all of the crazy stuff that's happened to me in my travels. So let me know if you want me to do more story times like this, and just let me know what kind of videos you want me to do because I love hearing from you guys. You know, leave me a comment. If you liked it, then give it a thumbs up. And if you're not already subscribed, then please do that. You won't regret it. And I will see you next week. I love you!